to the Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack one of the most universal, deeply frustrating, and yet entirely fixable problems in modern organizations. I'm talking about corporate friction. You know that exact feeling, right? When you have to work with another department and it suddenly feels like you're trying to negotiate a complex peace treaty with a foreign nation. We're going to look at exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how you can actually solve it. We're drawing our inspiration today from the legendary management thinker W. Edwards Deming. His insights literally flip the script on how we view teamwork and organizational design. So let's just jump right in and explore why these invisible walls inside your company are costing you way more than you realize.
Right off the bat, I want to challenge you with a question. Seriously, pause for a second and think about this. Who are the 3 specific people in completely different departments whose input is absolutely critical to your big decisions?
Do you have their names in your head?
Okay, good. Now, when was the exact last time you genuinely asked them for their advice before a project was finalized? And I don't mean sending them a late-night email ultimatum or just informing them of a decision you already made. I mean genuinely asking for their input. If you're kind of struggling to remember, don't worry, you are definitely not alone. But this is exactly the friction we're analyzing today.
Section 1. The illusion of departments.
Okay, let's dive into this. We create departments to organize the chaos, to group specific skill sets together, and, to just make management a little easier. But in doing so, we accidentally create a really dangerous illusion. We start believing that our specific department is the center of the universe. I mean, think about it. In most companies, marketing operates like this isolated empire, complete with its own unique language and culture. Sales is out there operating like it's a completely different world entirely disconnected from home base. And production? Well, production might as well be on a third planet, completely out of orbit from the other two. And here's the real kicker. This happens even when absolutely everyone involved has the best of intentions. Everyone wants the company to succeed, but because they're operating on different planets, their efforts just kind of bounce off one another.
Moving on to Section 2, Deming's Revelation, Understanding Structure over Motivation.
So, W. Edwards Deming observed this exact dynamic, these planets colliding on a daily basis, and he saw something totally profound. He realized that management was constantly misdiagnosing the disease. They'd look at the symptoms and automatically assume it was a motivation problem. Managers would think, my team just doesn't want to play nice, or sales is just being stubborn again. But Deming revealed the actual truth. It is a structure problem. The friction we see every single day isn't because your coworkers are lazy or malicious. It's because the organizational structure itself is literally pitting them against one another. If you tell marketing their only goal is to find a massive audience, and you never even ask production if they can actually deliver what marketing is promising out there, well, the system is designed to fail. The structure practically guarantees conflict.
And this leads us to one of Deming's absolute best insights. Listen to this. People are reluctant to implement a policy they did not help create. I mean, that is human nature at its most basic level, right? When a manager imposes a rigid goal, a deadline, or a brand new workflow entirely from the top down, just doing it in a total vacuum, it breeds immediate resentment. If you drop a massive new policy on someone's desk and just say, hey, do this, without ever consulting them on the daily realities of their job, they're going to execute it reluctantly. And as we all know, reluctant execution means minimal effort and maximum friction.
Section 3. The cost of silos.
All right, so we've talked a bit about the philosophy, but ideas are really only useful if we understand their real-world impact. We have to look at the painful, tangible consequences of these barriers. Imagine this kind of chain reaction of failures. A manager tries to set super aggressive deadlines in a vacuum just to impress a big client. Sales completely bypasses production to promise a crazy delivery date. And what happens? Production, caught totally off guard, executes reluctantly, which results in a product with absolute minimal quality. Or take marketing. They design this gorgeous, elaborate digital campaign, but they completely ignore IT's input. The result? IT is forced to build a backend system that almost works but not quite, totally frustrating the end customer. These aren't just minor annoyances. Across the global economy, this disconnect represents literal billions of dollars lost simply due to internal friction and senseless wasted energy.
The absolute crucial takeaway here is this 30% figure. When companies finally break down these silos and define their goals collaboratively across departments, rather than just in these isolated vacuums, they can see a whopping 30% increase in overall efficiency. Just really think about that for a second. That's 30% more output, 30% less wasted time, and 30% less daily stress, gained simply by connecting the dots between your people. It's efficiency that's currently just evaporating into thin air because teams aren't talking to each other before they act.
Let's move to Section 4, Pragmatic Action for Managers.
Okay, knowing the problem is only half the battle. If you're a manager tuning in, you might be thinking, great, I need to book a massive team-building retreat and do some trust falls. Absolutely not. Skip the trust falls. Trust falls and motivational posters do not fix broken systems. You actually have to fix the blueprint of how work gets done, because ultimately, structure creates behavior. Let me give you a perfect example of this. If your production department is strictly rewarded only for avoiding mistakes, what's their logical behavior going to be? Well, they'll never innovate. They'll become overly cautious and reject any fresh ideas from marketing because new ideas carry risk. The structure actively creates that defensive behavior. If you want to change how your team acts, you absolutely must change the structure of how they interact.
So here is exactly how you start changing that structure right now. It doesn't require some massive multi-million-dollar corporate overhaul. It just requires a highly specific, localized fix that you can go and execute next week. Step 1, pick up the phone and call the head of another department that you frequently clash with. Step 2, ask them this exact question. What do you need from me to make your job easier, and how can I get in your way less? And step 3, honestly, this is the most crucial part. Shut up, listen, and then actually execute on what they tell you. This super simple one-on-one conversation tactic instantly begins to dismantle that isolated structure and starts rebuilding it around collaborative reality.
We are bringing it right back to this central truth, because it's the absolute key to everything we've unpacked today. Structure creates behavior. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Look closely at your own team this week. When you see frustration bubbling up, or delays, or infighting, don't just ask who is at fault. Ask yourself, what structural flaw in my organization is actively causing this behavior? When you stop blaming the people and start fixing the blueprint, you truly unlock the potential of your organization. Thanks so much for joining me for this analysis. Now go tear down those walls.